This is the Louie Tee Network.
In the lab room. 5 minutes or less.
Dallas Cowboys. Welcome, you are in the lab room. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. 5 Minute or Less series, 2014 schedule release of the Dallas Cowboys. America's team brings a big smile to my face. And you know where I like to start with this? Of course, primetime matchups. And I'm talking about the Dallas Cowboys, America's team. Tony Romo, Jared Jones, Big D, and all of the lights and scrutiny that goes with it. You know I'm talking about a 5-star football team. So let's look at this schedule of primetime games. You start with Thursday Night Football, Week 14 at Chicago. If this is anything like last year, late in the season, at Chicago, at Soldier Field, then this is an ass whooping of epic proportions waiting to happen. But of course, I don't expect it to go down the way it went last year. Let's hope for all of our sakes that it doesn't go down the way that it went down last season. This should be a good game late in the season. And if you know these two football teams, most likely this is going to be a game with playoff implications late in the season, Week 14 at Chicago. You look at Sunday Night Football, Week 4, Dallas, home for New Orleans. That's always good theater when Drew Brees and the Saints head out to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. Every time these two teams play in New Orleans, usually the Cowboys get destroyed. But when they play in Big D, it's normally a great game with late game theatrics from one of the two teams. I'm looking forward to that one. And you know Rob Ryan coming back to Big D is going to generate a little bit of buzz as well. You look at Week 12 at the Giants on Sunday night. Anytime it's NFC East family business on primetime television, you know, sign me up. And the Giants and the Cowboys of late always seem to have some late game funny business. You know, I'll be front and center for that. Week 8, Monday Night Football, home for the Washington Redskins. What's a primetime slate for the Dallas Cowboys without Cowboys and Indians at some point? It's mandatory. It's Week 8. It's Washington. It's Dallas. It's Monday Night Football. You look at Week 15, Cowboys heading out to Philadelphia to handle a little bit more family business. This time they're on the road at Philly, Week 15, late season. That's going to be a huge game. Cowboys always trying to get into the postseason late in the season. They're going to have to go out on the road and take on the Philadelphia Eagles to try to get into the postseason on Monday Night Football. So you go to the divisional games. And for the Cowboys, it always comes down to the end of the season. They're always looking to try to get into the postseason. Last year, they fared very well within the division. They just didn't win enough games. If they can play the same way they played within the division last season, they're on to something. So you look at the Cowboys and you start with the Giants. Week 7 at home. Okay, again, it's a must in this league that you take care of business within the division at home. It's tough to get them on the road, but it's mandatory that you get them at home. If you can't win at home in the division, you're going to be in trouble. You look at Week 12 at the Giants. The Cowboys have had a lot of success in New York against the Giants. Last year they won. The year before that they won. Remember they spoiled the Giants Super Bowl ring ceremony in 2011 by beating them in 2012, first game of the season. The Cowboys have success in New York. Giants are going to have to try to curtail that. Cowboys have them in Week 12 in New York. You look at the Philadelphia Eagles, Week 13. The Eagles are coming to Dallas in Week 13. It's going to be a tough matchup. Eagles beat them final game of the season last year in Big D. So the Cowboys have not forgot the sting of that loss. Cost them a trip to the postseason. Eagles will be looking to go back to Big D and get it done once again. You look at Week 15, just mentioned that one. That's a primetime game on Monday night, late in the season at Philly. That's going to be a huge game for the Cowboys, huge game possibly for the Eagles as well. And so that's going to have playoff implications most likely for either one or both teams in that game, that should be a huge matchup for the Cowboys late in the season at Philadelphia. You look at the Redskins, and that's a huge one. Week 8, Monday Night Football, primetime, already talked about it. Big D at home against Robert Griffin III and the Washington Redskins. That's going to be great theater. They're going to hype that game up. It's going to be fun to watch. Redskins, Cowboys, what more do I need to say? You look at Week 17, Cowboys are on the road this year. Last year, they got a home game against Philly. This year, Week 17 is going to end up being the Cowboys back in D.C. Once again, 2 years ago, they finished up their season Week 17 in Washington, and we know how that season ended. And so for the Cowboys, you always cringe when you're on the road late in the season. Seems like it doesn't matter whether they're at home or they're away. 3 years ago, they lost to the Giants at home. The next year, they lose to the Redskins on the road. The year after that, they lose to the Eagles at home. So it really doesn't matter where the Cowboys are in Week 17. They always seem to find a way to lose the division wherever they are. And so it just happens to be on the road, which makes it that much tougher in Week 17 at Washington. So you move on to anomalies. And, man, this Cowboys team has a plethora of anomalies, and I tell you what, their schedule is the worst in the league. It's not even close. Let's look at these anomalies, and you know I like to talk about anomalies, and it's 3 out of 4 at home or away. It's 4 out of 5 at home or away. It's 3 straight on the road. It's 4 straight on the road or home. It's a game in London. The Cowboys have all of that stuff. All of it. I mean, it's that bad on this schedule. So you look at the home anomalies. Let's start there. And 5 out of 6 for this Cowboys team. No, I didn't say 4 out of 5. I didn't say 3 out of 4. 5 out of 6 for the Cowboys at home, which is excellent. I mean, you can't ask for a better anomaly than that. 5 out of 6 at home? I mean, who does that? Who does 5 out of 6 at home? I mean, that's a lot of games at home at one time. And in that stretch, you got 3 straight home games, weeks 7 through 9. And how can you not have 3 straight home games when you play 5 of them in 6 weeks? Amazing. And so it's weeks 4 through 9 that they have 5 out of 6 home games. It's even hard for me to say, because I can't even fathom a team playing 5 home games in a 6-week stretch. But anyway, they do that. Okay? So then you go on to the away anomaly. And this is mind-boggling right here. This is insane. Okay? So you know they had to pay for that home anomaly. They have to pay for that. You don't get 5 out of 6 home games and think you're just going to skate. At some point, you're going to have a lot of road games in a row. And in the Cowboys situation, they got a lot of road games in a row. So you look at this. 5 out of 6 on the road. Okay? So you get this anomaly at home, 5 out of 6, and you're loving it. I mean, McDonald's, you are absolutely loving it. But you got to pay for that. 5 games on the road out of 6, weeks 12 through 17. So you finish up the season 5 games on the road out of 6. Ouch! So that's some late season drama right there for you, because if you don't clean up those home games early on in the season, you're in trouble. So you have 4 straight road games in that stretch. And 4 straight to finish up the season. We're talking week 14 through week 17. You're on the road every single game to finish up the season. And you play at London in week 10. You play at London in week 10 against Jacksonville. That's a road game for you. So you know that the bye is in week number 11. Anytime you play in London, the very next week, your bye is the next week. So Cowboys, with an excellent bye, they're going to need it. You need that bye in week 11 because you've got some road football coming your way after that bye. Yes, indeed. So then you look at, mark your calendar. You look at NYC. For the Cowboys, you're America's team. Mark your whole entire calendar. Don't worry about one particular game. Everybody likes to get up for the Cowboys. It's a big deal when you play the Cowboys. Just mark your whole calendar. And like a coach who doesn't like what he sees on the court in basketball, Give me the timeout, man. Give me the timeout. In the case of the Dallas Cowboys, the big D stands for damn it, man. This is the worst schedule ever. Not in the last couple of years, not in the last decade, ever. First, you start with 5 out of 6 on your home turf. With 3 straight home games. Sounds great, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. But then what happens when you got to go 5 out of 6 on the road late in the season, weeks 12 through 17, with 4 straight road games in the final 4 weeks of the season? That's crazy talk. Not to mention, sandwiched in between all of that, you got to go to London to play Jacksonville. Ew. What in the hell did the schedule makers do to you? Who plays 4 consecutive games on the road to finish out the season? Who does that? The Dallas Cowboys in 2014 does that. Hey, if you're going to try to make the postseason in 2014, looks like you're going to have to do your work early. Because late, you're on the road, it's going to be tough. But guess what? That's what champions are made out of. Get it done late in the season on the road, and chances are you'll be heading to the postseason for the first time in a long time. Time in. And that's the Dallas Cowboys, America's team, in 5 minutes or less. While you're here, go ahead and sub up.
In the lab room.